Hey guys, so today we're checking out the Adams Extreme Duty Series Front 1310 CV drive shaft with the solid U-joints and the pinion yoke, fitting all 2007 to 2018 JK Wranglers. Now, wear and tear on your Jeep is very normal, but can definitely be accelerated by certain things, including a lift, larger tires, larger wheels, and just heavier components in general. Now, one of the main components that usually is the first one to wear out is going to be your drive shafts. Now, this option by Adams Drive Shaft is a high-quality drive shaft option that will replace your factory one with one that will last. Now, this kit in particular will be a perfect replacement if your current drive shaft is showing a lot of wear, whether you didn't put exhaust spacers on when you added a lift and you burnt the drive shaft boot on your factory one, or the factory Mazeppa joint is showing some wear and tear. Maybe that boot is ripped and you can see grease coming out or see the bearings. At that point, it would definitely be need to be replaced, and this option by Adams is again going to be a high quality solution for that. The 1310 Extreme Duty front drive shaft will accommodate up to 4.5 inches of lift and up to 37-inch tires, allowing a lot more movement for the axle, a flattened pinion angle, and a whole ton of strength over the factory components. Now, not to mention, this will have the ability to maintenance it, unlike the factory drive shaft, since it does include spring clips on the U-joint. As you can see over on the side here, you will be able to pop them out if you need to, if they do get worn down, if you do a lot of off-roading, if you're kind of really beating your Jeep up. If you need to replace them, you can definitely do so. The factory one, you weren't able to replace any of the components, but because these do have the spring clip, you will be able to pop those out if need be. Diving a little bit deeper into the construction, this is going to be made out of a 2-inch 0.12 wall DOM tubing that is double the strength of the factory tubing and is going to clear the exhaust and the cross member, eliminating any damage to the drive shaft at full droop, according to Adams. Now, this will also include a 1310 U-joint and yoke that will offer a lot of strength, considering that they are non-greasable. So usually a greasable U-joint, they have a hole drilled in the center, which can take away from the structural integrity of the U-joint. However, in that case, they are going to be able to be maintenanced. However, there's no option for that grease fitting, but it does make it a lot stronger when you are thinking about U-joints. And that's really the main difference between the Extreme Duty and the Heavy Duty offered by Adams. The Extreme Duty is not going to have greasable U-joints, and it is going to give a little bit more strength. So if you are concerned about just that much more strength for your drive shaft, then the Extreme Duty is going to be up your alley. Now, on the topic of maintenance, this will also have shaft splines, as you can see here. This is kind of compressed right now, but when it's fully out, it will allow grease to be put in there to make sure that all of the components are moving smoothly, and that this is going to have a very long lifespan in comparison to other options that are not really going to have this spline there. Now, this kit will also come with everything that you need in order to install it. It'll come with the drive shaft. You're going to have a yoke for either side, and you are going to get the grade 10 CV bolts, which are shortened on the head, and that is going to be for easier install. I personally like that. It makes it a little bit easier when you are underneath the Jeep and torquing everything down. When it comes to comparing this kit to others in the category, it will be right in the middle when it comes to pricing at right around $600. Now, what I will say is that Adams is one of the best in the business when it comes to the quality of their drive shafts, and they do back that with a limited lifetime warranty if you twist the tube or you break a weld. So even right in that price point, that just makes it that much more worth it. However, if we take a look at those other options, especially within the Adams Drive Shaft brand, you will see a number of different choices that will include different features. Now, there is a more expensive version of this drive shaft that's labeled the 1350. Now, those are going to be a bit stronger than this choice and are usually going to be for people who are doing some serious off-roading, and will have a 6-inch lift kit at max, and will also have a 42-inch tire at max. So if you're not really in that realm, if you're not looking to get to that capacity as far as wheels and tires and your lift kit is concerned, this one right here is still going to be very strong. It's not going to be as strong as a 1350, but this is going to save you a couple bucks and still provide a lot of quality within the construction. Now, this does come with the yokes and is the extreme duty. Like I mentioned, there are two different options in the 1310 category as well as the 1350 category. They're going to be the extreme duty and the heavy duty. That really just comes down to whether the U-joints themselves are going to be greasable or non-greasable. So the extreme duty, that is going to be this one here that has a non-greasable U-joint. That is going to be a little bit more expensive. And of course, if you do want the pinion yoke and the yokes in general, that is going to be a little bit more expensive. Well, not too much more expensive. So in my personal opinion, I think if you're doing a little bit of maintenance on your Jeep and you just want to take it just that much further and replace a couple more components, this is definitely worth that extra couple of bucks. Now, all in all, again, if you're looking at an Adams drive shaft, you don't want to go over the top with a 1350, but you do want the stronger version of the 1310 and want the replacement flanges, this is definitely going to be your choice. Now, when it comes to getting this thing on your Jeep, drive shafts are generally easy when it comes to the install process. However, you will need a little bit of mechanical know-how in order to get this onto your Wrangler. So I am going to give this a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, especially because this does come with the yokes as well as the drive shaft itself. Now, this project should take you about 2 hours and will definitely require some hand tools to get the job done. Those are going to include a ratchet, some extensions, a standard socket set ranging from 8 millimeters up to 15 millimeters, a small chisel or a flathead, and a mallet in order to get the factory drive shaft away from the factory yoke. Now, you may also need a yoke puller with the accommodating socket size. If you're having a tough time hammering the yoke off, it might be a little bit easier just to start with the yoke puller, just because it is, again, going to make your life a lot easier. You don't have to fight the yoke from coming off, and you don't risk anything when it comes to damaging other components in your driveline. Now, a lot of people don't have one of those specialty driveline tools on hand, so you should be able to find one at your local auto parts store. Now, you also want to have some grease and some Loctite. Loctite is usually included in the kit, but you definitely want to make sure that the shaft here on the splines is greased. And of course, you're also going to need a torque wrench to torque everything down to factory spec. Now, speaking of the install, one of our customers here at Extreme Terrain has completed this install on his JK and is going to walk you through all of those steps of getting this onto your Jeep. So enough from my review here, let's hop into the install.
I'm going to start on the rear of the driveline with an impact, some extensions, and a 5/16 millimeter socket. And go all the way around to each of the 8 bolts. Okay, with the 8 bolts removed, we'll move on to the front. Alright, I've now moved to the front of the driveline, and with a 15 millimeter socket, an extension, and an impact, I'm going to remove the 4 bolts that hold it on. Alright, the front is broken loose, and I should be able to just pull down here and just gonna tap it loose. Alright, it was being a little stubborn, so I went ahead and grabbed a hammer and a couple other tools to try to get it off, so we're gonna see what happens here. Okay, so I guess the cover does not need to be removed, so using a pointed little chisel here and a hammer, I'm gonna stick it in these little holes that are around it and see if I can beat it loose. There it goes, okay. I was just trying to remove the wrong part. Just take a flathead and try to pry it out. There it goes. And just like that, the driveline's free and you can take it out of the vehicle. Alright, now I'm going to use a 1 1/8 socket and an impact to break the nut loose on the front diff pinion yoke. Okay. Take a hammer and see if I can break it loose. Alright, so it wouldn't come off with a hammer, so I ended up getting a puller and I got it mocked up on here, and then I got the socket for the puller on the impact to just spin it off. So let's see if it works. There we go. Alright, I got the new pinion yoke from Adams and I'm going to slide it up and attempt to line up the teeth. Tap it on with a rubber mallet. Reuse the old nut. Get it started on here. And then with the same 1 1/8 socket and impact. Tighten it the majority of the way down. And then I'm gonna move on to the other side and later I'll torque this. Alright, and one thing you're gonna wanna do is remove the O-ring from the old one. And you're going to place it inside the new one like this. And it's going to look just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and put it on. Alright, so we line it up with the shaft and we slide it on just like that. And then we're going to take some RTV, put it on the nut, and just run it around or beat around and thread it on. We're gonna get it most of the way on and then we'll move on to torquing it. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and torque both of the nuts to 160 foot-pounds, and you're gonna just wait for the click with the torque wrench. Okay, there's the back one. And there's the front one. Alright, now I'm gonna install the transfer case side of the driveline. So I'm gonna move the driveline up into place here. Get it lined up like so, and I applied blue Loctite to my threads of each of my 4 bolts for this. I'm going to slide them in and start them by hand here. Rotate to the other side. Alright, then I've got an 8mm socket. Alright, now that they're all snugged up, they're supposed to be torqued to 18 foot-pounds. I do not have a small enough torque wrench to fit in this space, so I'm just going to do it by hand. Alright, they're all torqued and we're going to move on to the front. Alright, we're now going to remove the tape from the front U-joint. Move it in place with the front pinion yoke here. You have to extend it to meet up. Then you take these U-bolts, put Loctite on them, and line them up with the holes, like so. And then each side gets a lock washer and a lock nut. Okay, same thing on the other side. There we go. Once those are all started, takes a 12mm socket or wrench, and it's looking like the socket won't fit, so try a wrench. First one's sewed up. Alright, again, they're supposed to be torqued, but I am not able to do so with my large torque wrench, so I'm going to do it by hand to 18 foot-pounds.
So that is going to wrap it up for my review and install on the Adams Extreme Duty Series 1310 CV drive shaft with the solid U-joints and pinion yoke, fitting all 2007 to 2018 JK Wranglers. For more reviews and installs just like this, always keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.